Name.
Let me draw it. Tracy, that's your core part. This is what? Chicken.
We're going to wait maybe 2 more minutes before we get started.
Do I get to pick a little guy I like?
Okay, I think we will get started. Thank you everyone for joining us. Can you see the shared screen? Can I get a thumbs up if you can see it? Awesome. Thank you everyone. So I am Antoinette Laiolo, also known as Nettie, coordinator of psychology and counseling. Unmute, Nancy.
Sorry about that, everyone. Just getting used to our Zoom meetings all the time. I'm also a coordinator here in Torrance Unified. I'm the coordinator of parent community engagement, and I work in the Family Welcome Enrollment Center where you enroll your child in school.
And just so everyone knows, we are recording this Zoom session so that people can watch it at a later time if they were not able to join us. So what we would like to do is, there we go. Start off with an overview of what we're going to do for the next hour. We will start with a quick check-in. We will discuss wellness, self-care. We're going to have some time for an action plan. We're going to spend a few minutes on social emotional learning, and then we'll have time for questions at the end. So the first thing we'd like to do is a check-in with the feelings wheel. I'm not sure if some of you have already seen the feelings wheel. Since we're going to be discussing social emotional learning and wellness, we thought it would be good to start with a check-in. Often when someone says, how are you doing or how are you feeling, we often stick to the same old, feelings that are really easy and come to us quickly, like tired, stressed, bored, angry. So we want to kind of start to expand that vocabulary a little bit. So if you can all just take a couple minutes to look at our feelings wheel. And just in the chat box, please put 2 or 3 words for how you are feeling. 2 or 3 words in the chat box for how you're feeling. And if you're looking for good words to use or some feelings you haven't thought about, there's the feelings wheel for you. Whoop. I like it. Overwhelmed but blessed. I just put in there that I'm thankful to have our coordinator of parent and community engagement with me for this presentation and with us for this presentation. Oh, I love it. Thankful and optimistic. Wonderful. Overwhelmed and skeptical. Ah, skeptical. Relaxed. Nice. Oh, exhausted. Yes. Thank you for adding how you're feeling. Nancy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
So we thought that we would touch on both our own feelings and also those of our families, right? So as we've gone through these very unprecedented times, we've had to spend a lot more time with our families, right? As we're trying to stay safe. I thought we might touch on how we might talk to our kids about social emotional topics. So just some thoughts for you to kind of ponder as we go through this session today. Have you talked to your children about social emotional topics? May depend a little bit on age and how you talk to them, but that's just something that we wanted you guys to consider. And how do you feel about talking with your children about social emotional topics? Sometimes it can be difficult. Sometimes it can be easy depending on the situation or the topic. Sometimes it can lead to really good things, or it can be challenging for the entire family to deal with something that's going on. Also, a good thing to consider and always be aware of so that everybody feels listened to, and that's a very important thing when you're feeling something, right, to feel that your family listens to you. So how did your children react when you talk about social emotional topics?
Guess what? You don't always.
So if you want to take a moment, if we want to think about whether we've talked to our kids about social emotional topics and how they've reacted, and what are some feelings that you have about sharing those with your kids. What have you thought of? How does it make you feel when you have to talk about these issues with your children? We can share that maybe in the chat box as well, or if anybody has.
Nancy, there was a question in the chat box. Is there a definition of social emotional?
Anything that has to do with your feelings, I would say. Do you talk to your kids about how they feel? So as Nettie said in the feelings wheel, as the kids are younger, right, their feelings may not be as descriptive as when we get older, but sometimes kids can talk about things that are a little more challenging as they get into maybe middle school and high school. Their feelings range, and that how they can describe them can be a lot more descriptive.
And we're going to get into it a little bit towards the end when we talk about social emotional learning and the competencies, but a lot of it has to do with emotions, which is the self-awareness competency. We also have social awareness, which talks about empathy, perspective taking, responsible decision making, self-management, impulse control, stress management, and relationship skills. So when we're talking about social emotional, we often focus more on feelings because that has to do with a lot of it, and especially with our younger kids, that has a lot to do with behavior. Sometimes they're not able to express how they're feeling, so sometimes it comes out as behavior. But it really encompasses self-awareness, social awareness, decision-making, self-management, and relationship skills. But we often, and maybe it's because Nancy and I are PPS, school counselors by trade, we often focus on the emotions and the feelings, especially because they're the root of so much. Sorry, Nancy.
No worries. So if we'd like, we can go on to the next slide, since I think Nettie has control of the slides for today. So as we start thinking about talking to our kids about emotions and how they deal with their emotions as they go through life, even with ourselves, right? It can be helpful to think about the wide range of things. A lot of times we get faced with just thinking we're either happy or sad, right? And there's a lot of in between. So it's helpful for all of us to kind of be aware of all those things in between and in the gray areas of whether we're happy or sad. It doesn't have to be one or the other, like we saw on the slide in the very beginning with all those faces, right? Sometimes it can be a little of both, or it could be a lot of things that are not those main black and white things that we think about. So it's good for all of us to kind of start thinking about what are we really feeling, right? When we're feeling a little anxious, or if we're tired, or if we're disgusted. So for all of us, it's good to start being aware of all those other feelings, and because it always starts with awareness, right? So that we can figure out how to deal with life. We can start teaching our kids as well to kind of look for not more than just happy, sad, so they can describe things for themselves and be able to function a little bit better once they can acknowledge their own feelings. So this is just an example of some other things that maybe we don't normally think of. Apprehensive is a word, right, that may come up recently because of everything going on in the world. As a result of some of that apprehension, we might feel jittery, right? That causes us to maybe feel a little jumpy, or everything that comes around makes us a little bit worried. Maybe even panicked, or just stressed, sometimes from work, from things going on. Sometimes also as a result, not necessarily have to be that end of the spectrum, but it could be restless, right? So the anxiety or the stress may cause you to feel a little restless. So also being stuck sometimes at home a little bit more than usual may cause us and or our children or our family members to feel a little restless. So we may want to get out there and see our friends and go do stuff that we could have done back in the times before we were staying at home to be safe at this moment. So it's good to kind of remember that there's more than just the happy, sad, which we all want to try and be able to identify where we are and where we could go if we'd like. So if we want to move on to the next.
Before we move on real quick, I just wanted to make sure everyone knows that this mood meter is taken from the book Permission to Feel. And it was written by the director of the Yale Center for, I'm blanking. I'll look it up. But he's the one that runs their director for emotional intelligence, and he wrote a book, Permission to Feel. And this mood meter is taken from there, just so you guys know, in case anyone has questions about it. It's a great book, all about emotional intelligence.
So we just wanted to share a happy picture with you to give us an idea of kind of what we want to gain from this presentation with you, this short time with you. We want to concentrate on emotions, but also on wellness overall, right? So it's a way of life oriented towards just overall health and well-being. So not necessarily just feelings, but how we feel and how we can be well involves a lot of different things. So body, mind, spirit, all of that can be integrated so that we can live our lives more completely and maybe hopefully a little bit more happy. So ideally, it's the optimum state of well-being when you include all of those factors in your life and you're able to be aware of all of those things. So our goal is kind of like a cup of coffee to be able to have you guys be a little bit proactive about your mental health and your wellness, and so that hopefully you can fill your cup a little bit tonight, get some information that might be helpful. Okay, so I think we'll go on to the next slide.
Okay, sorry, I just put in the name and the title in there. Wanted to make sure I had that for us. Okay. So what is wellness, right? you know, thank you, Nancy, for defining it for us. But when we look at and we talk about wellness, and if you search wellness or images of wellness on the internet, you're going to get all kinds of the dimensions of wellness wheels. Some of them have 6, some of them have 7, some of them have 8. Well, this is kind of our favorite wellness wheel because we really like how it shows the interconnectedness, right? And it asks you that question, how balanced is your wheel, right? And so the dimensions of wellness included on this wellness wheel are emotional wellness, social wellness, physical wellness, spiritual wellness, intellectual wellness, occupational wellness, financial wellness, and environmental wellness. And, you know, when you take a minute and just kind of reflect on, you know, if something is out of balance in one of those wheels, I think we often feel it in another part of our life, right? Like if you're not satisfied with your job or you're having financial stress, it often pours out into other dimensions of your life. It could be causing stress in your relationship, right? People that internalize things, they may be having upset stomachs and feeling totally stressed out. You know, they may, you know, be snapping at their friends and their partners, or they may just be feeling really down. And so when we look at it, we really want to look at how balanced our wheel is overall. We also like this because when we start to focus on, well, what can we do about it? And we start to look at self-care, we also want to look at self-care for all of these dimensions of wellness, right? I think sometimes when we talk about self-care, I know for me, the first thing that pops in my mind is a massage and a spa. That's the first thing that pops in my mind, right? But self-care, if we're looking at our financial part of our life, might be about budgeting and things like that. Okay. And then if you'd like more information about wellness, please reach out to us because there is a plethora of resources. So if you do want a little more information specific to wellness, then, you know, please reach out to us. But we wanted to focus a little bit more on self-care and helping us balance that wheel, right? We want to balance our wellness wheel. And so when we look at self-care, we like to think of wellness is the philosophy and self-care is your action plan. How are you going to improve your wellness? Well, you're going to do it through self-care, and that's going to be your action plan. And if you look in our cute little diagram here, you will see that there are types of self-care, and a lot of them relate back to the different dimensions of our wellness wheel, right? We have physical self-care, emotional self-care, social self-care, spiritual self-care, personal self-care, space self-care, financial self-care, and work self-care. Okay, and just know, you know, it takes time to figure out what practices work for you and what you feel comfortable carving time out for. But we want to really focus on the interconnection between self-care and wellness. Wellness is the philosophy, self-care is a practice and the action plan that's going to help you get there. So we're going to start off with emotional and spiritual self-care. So there's a lot of different suggestions and ideas. Some may work for you, some may not. Some you may not have even thought of, okay? So, but why do we even want to focus on self-care? We want to value and prioritize self-care because it'll help us to effectively manage the immense amount of stress in our daily lives, and especially right now, right? And I know that the idea of one more thing on your plate is probably stressful right now with everything going on, but we also want to remember that that one more thing on your plate may actually lessen that load for you, or at least lessen the feeling of that load for you. Managing our stress is like doing the laundry or taking out the trash. It must be repeated regularly or it will pile up and have negative consequences. You know, maybe sometimes we lose our temper. That could be the stuff piling up. Oftentimes, self-care is the first thing that gets knocked off our daily agenda, focusing on how important it is to keep this appointment with ourselves, even if it's just a few minutes or something small. So like for daily habits to cultivate, then we have weekly and monthly habits, or even seasonally or yearly. So daily habits, it could be meditation, it could be breath work, it could be art for people that like to draw and color. It could be just taking a really nice long bath. It could be in essential oils. I love the smell of rosemary and just smelling it. And also my stress relief candle. It is from Bath & Body Works, and I am telling you, that smell, that works for me. It could be playing a game. It could be journaling. weekly or monthly things. You know, hey, if you can get a weekly or monthly massage, that's wonderful self-care. It could be therapy, going to talk therapy. It could be gathering with people in your community. Yearly, it would be taking time off work. Okay. And it can also be, you know, a vacation or a sabbatical. We want to remember, though, that self-care doesn't have to be time consuming. A strategy like mindfulness is all about recognizing the little things while you're doing your daily things like washing dishes. So let's say you're washing your dishes. It could be something as simple as just taking a moment to feel, you know, or to smell the smell of your dish soap, or to take a moment to feel, you know, the sponge and the different senses from what you're washing. It could also be, you know, going out for a walk and literally stopping to smell the roses. It could also be, you know, just having a change of scenery. Or when you're in the shower, what does the water really feel like? Because we go through our day-to-days and we just do things. Mindfulness is about taking that moment to really check in with yourself and how does this feel? How does this smell? So then we have, self-care. We have physical rest. Improving the quality, duration, and timing of your sleep is one of the single most powerful interventions you can take to improve your health and wellness. I know there's a lot of information out there on the internet, again, about sleep and how to sleep and how to improve your sleep, right? And the effects of not sleeping well, not getting enough rest, getting too much rest. It is literally one of the most important things you can do for your overall health and wellness. And some things that can help you get a better rest are things like having bedtime rituals, like taking a hot bath or diffusing oils, writing in a gratitude journal, just taking a moment and writing down the things you're thankful for, read a relaxing book, create a worry list for those of us that our mind just keeps going, like you forget everything you have to do during the day, and as soon as you lay down to bed, it all pops back into your head. That's where a worry list is good. Or even if you're thinking of all the things you have to get done the next day, maybe it's a to-do list that you're writing, before you go to bed. Listening to calming music. It could be limiting your blue light 1 to 2 hours before bed. As much as I think some of us like to fall asleep watching TV, it's not so great. or we're on Facebook as we're getting ready to fall asleep, and it may not be so good for our sleep. Nancy?
Okay. All right, so there's some other aspects of self-care as well. So as we were talking about the other aspects like sleep, another physical one is movement and nutrition, right? So our physical body also, we want to take care of our physical body. So sometimes the only thing we think of is, working out, but it can involve a lot of other things. Movement is essential, right, for the human body. It helps, the more we move, the better we feel. It helps prevent disease, as we know. It helps strengthen our bones in our body, and we can help maintain our heart, and helps a lot of parts of our bodies in terms of flexibility. So there's a lot of things we can do that can help manage our stress as well, such as movement in a lot of different ways, not just going to the gym. There's a lot of different things that can help keep you happy and more. One of the things that I found really striking that I wanted to share was that as I went to a trauma training, they said that sometimes they had a hard time finding things that could help students or individuals that had gone through trauma, and they found that one of the things that really could help their brain recover from some of the trauma that they experienced was actually exercise, which showed that it helped heal some of the actual damage in their brain, which was interesting. So some of that can actually help you feel a little bit better and also help yourself physically. As I mentioned, it doesn't have to be going to the gym to lift weights and all of that, but it could involve walking or yoga or just stretching, just Pilates. It could be martial arts, depending on your skill or your likes and needs, maybe swimming, hiking, dancing. So at least during this time, we are able to go outside. And just walking itself, don't underestimate walking. It can be stress reducing to look around, be exposed to sunlight. Also the fresh air and nature that we are luckily still able to do during these challenging times, to get some fresh air and get out there in the community. And be a little bit far away from all those screens that we're now having to be a part of a lot more in these specific times. So if you have trouble getting motivated, some tips are maybe use your animals, like if you want to take them for a walk, or when you're running errands, you could park your car a little further away. Housework is movement as well, so unfortunately we all have to do housework, but that counts as well. And it can help to have like a buddy, like an exercise buddy, to go take a hike or a walk, or be prepared with some backup plans, like, not necessarily rain here in California so much, but if things come up or you need to do something else, you can change up what you do every day to fit into your own schedule. The other big thing could be nutrition, right? So the physical aspect of our body and everything we put into our bodies, we can learn to be a little bit more mindful about what we put into our mouths and how we're eating. So it can affect how we feel. So it does affect our overall wellness if we're not paying too much attention to what we're eating. There's a lot of research right now on that brain-gut connection in terms of what you're eating and how your gut impacts a lot of your overall immune system. So you can look it up if you're interested. There is a lot of research out there right now. And we just challenge you to maybe kind of notice how you feel about eating different types of food. So that's just a good place to kind of start to give you an idea of some activities. So you may want to go on to the next slide. I think this is me as well. So there's some other activities in other areas in terms of self-care that we want to also pay attention to when we socialize, right? Socialization is really important. There are two main areas where, as human beings, connection to others is essential, which is why sometimes at this time it can be very challenging for ourselves and for our kids, because the connections that we normally have are not the same, and they're not there. So it can affect our wellness overall in maintaining our best health. So connections to other humans and to nature can be really important. So we urge you to continue to build your support network in different novel ways than in the past, perhaps, and to try and maintain those relationships. Trying Zoom with friends, trying to watch movies together through technology, addressing also your boundaries, right? So being aware of what's a supportive relationship and what's not, and keeping your boundaries when it's necessary, and using effective communication, right? As we're spending more time together with our families, that can be really crucial to be able to communicate with each other when we need time alone, when we want to be together, and to have that quality time together with our families and our friends. And also, social media is really important at this time to use to socialize, but it's also important maybe to discuss with our friends, and also to be aware of for ourselves, right? A limit on looking at maybe negative news, or to just be aware of kind of, as you look through social media, how things affect you, right? So one thing I've started to do is, like, if I have Instagram, I want it to be just about food or nature or paintings or dogs. I love dogs. So Nettie and I have that in common, so that my feed is more positive, right? So I don't necessarily want my Instagram feed filled with, let's say, everything about maybe the virus or what's going on in the news right now, because if I want to look for news, I can find it on TV, or it's available everywhere, right? So when I have time, I go do that so that I can be up to date with what I need to know, but I don't need to see it ongoing 24/7, right? So you can make those choices for yourself and for your family, and maybe help your kids to start thinking about what in social media helps and maybe doesn't help so much, and be able to help monitor and kind of help create an environment for ourselves that will help our overall wellness. Same with nature, right? We talked about being able to have access to nature. It can help us a lot, depending on our personalities, how much we like nature, but definitely human beings, we can benefit from being outside and getting exposed to nature and being able to appreciate that part of our self-care. So I think we'll go on to the next slide. So we just want you to remember, as we discuss the different areas, that self-care is not just one thing. Like Nettie said, we may automatically think of just one thing, like getting a massage or doing one specific thing. It doesn't have to be. It could be a lot of different things, and you can pick whatever works for you and your life and your family. Don't get overwhelmed. Don't get stuck on you have to do one in each area or whatever. It can be really overwhelming, especially with all of us juggling everything right now. So just kind of, we don't want to cause you more stress. We just want you to help find some balance in your life, right? So it could be taking a step back, spending some time by yourself to do something that makes you feel calm, setting your boundaries, and it's okay to put yourself first sometimes. So we know that a lot of you put your families and your kids first, and once in a while, it can be okay to put yourself first and give yourself that time to do so.
All right, we have a little video for you right now on self-care for parents. There we go.
There you go.
Not sure what's going on.
I think it's trying.
There we go. I think.
You know how when you're on the airplane and they say when the oxygen mask falls, or if it does, which it hopefully never has for you, put it on yourself first and then assist whoever's around you like a child. Okay, today we're going to talk about how that applies to parenting. The oxygen mask and the airplane is like us with our own self-care as a parent. So they need you on the airplane to help yourself because you are of no use to anyone else if you don't take care of yourself. And I know as a parent, you think, well, no, I got to take care of my kid. Okay, well, you're going to be like nothing on the ground. Like then your kid's going to, they weren't helped. Let's just put it like they weren't helped unless you put that on first. So we need you to apply that to your parenting with your child. So this is where I absolve you, magic wand, okay? Absolve you of any guilt that you feel by doing the things that you need to do to deposit into your own self, like your own bank account, your own love cup, whatever that is, that concept for you, so that you feel like you have something to give to your child. If you don't, you are running on fumes. It's ugly. So my kids would say it's like scary mommy or mean mommy, like the face. So what do you look like and sound like when you are taking care of yourself? What do you look like and sound like? Usually people say, well, I'm really patient. I look calm. I'm less irritable. You know, it's a whole different look. It's a whole different patience. It's a whole different quality of time with your kids. What do you look like and sound like when you are not taking care of yourself? Yeah, it's scary mommy, ugly, impatient, irritable, scary, that kind of thing. So whatever it is that floats your boat, that makes you feel good, that helps you show up as a better parent, do those things for yourself, because you will be a better parent for your child. And we think that, well, it's all about quantity of time over quality of time. It's not. It is about quality of time. So especially those of us that are working outside the home, you know, and feel guilt about the time that you're not with your kids. Oh no, I don't have time to work out or go for a walk or meditate or play tennis or whatever it is you need to do, go fishing, you know, that you need to do to help yourself feel like, okay, you know, or take the time, you know, on your drive home to, you know, like listen to your podcast or go for a walk or whatever you need to do. Because when you do that, the quality of time that you have, the interaction is so much richer than if you didn't and you're harried and you're coming in flying in on two wheels kind of thing. And it's just not pretty parenting. It's ugly. So help yourself, augment yourself, do whatever you need to do, because put the oxygen mask on yourself first. Because when you do, you are a much better parent. And your kids benefit when you do that. So alleviate the guilt. The minute you have a child, you have guilt, okay? The minute they're born, you have guilt because it's, did I do enough? Is this enough? It's never, you never know. You never know. But do help yourself, because your parenting is so much better when you do that for yourself. So take care of yourselves and do whatever you need to do. Your kids will really, they benefit. They may not thank you, but they will down the road, because you're doing less of the D, you know, the A through D concept that I talk about in the book about. So you're doing less of the D. So C is doing no harm. Just take care of yourself. So check out the links below if you want more information or more strategies. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
There we go. All right. So hopefully some of you could relate to what she was saying. But right now we want to kind of look at some apps. So, you know, I know we're talking about, maybe you don't want to be on these apps right before you go to sleep, because then the blue light will mess with you, but, or mess with your sleep. But there are some great apps out there right now that can help. There's Calm, Meditation Minis, Headspace, which is free for LA County residents through the end of the 2020 year, Yoga with Adrienne, YouTube. If you just go to YouTube and Google visual relaxation or sound relaxation, you will find some great stuff. You just want to find what feels good for you. Right now, I'm going to take you to a couple of calming rooms that a couple of our elementary counselors created. And I'm not sure why it's taking so long. Not sure why my internet is being so slow. There we go. So this is a virtual calming room. And so, if you go to a virtual calming room, it has a bunch of different stuff that you can check out to help relax. They've got links to music and soothing sounds, links to visual relaxations where you can literally just look at islands in water. They've got yoga and stretching and exercise links, guided meditation links. They've also got coloring and creativity links, puzzles and game links, stress relief apps. There's more apps out there. And so that is one of the wonderful things. There's also one, if you look at Carr and Waltieri Elementary, there's also a mindfulness page that Gina Spector, one of our counselors, did. The Towers Calming Room was done by one of our counselors, Angelica Jones. So you can go there anytime. Let's see, let's check out a visual relaxation. There we go. See, literally can look at water and islands. Oh, waterfall. There you go. If you just want to take a moment and just kind of, okay, I need to just take a visual break, the screen. So it just takes you to another link that has some visual stuff. So let's see, where else? So if you just want to take a little time, you know, if you're like, I just need a moment, I want a guided meditation, I like to color, I'm a doodler too, that helps me too, so I like to doodle, so that's good for me, virtual games. So some of our sites have virtual calming rooms linked to their website, so you may want to check out your school website to see if they have a calming room. And then we also, real quick, we just want to kind of talk, because right before we get into our action plan, if we can just, you can put it in the chat if you like, just talk about, you know, maybe you can share self-care activities that work for you, or you can share challenges to self-care. So if you guys just want to type in the chat real quick, you can add if there are any self-care activities that really work for you, or some challenges you found to self-care. Journaling, yeah. I know a lot of people like to journal, absolutely. Hiking, walking, wonderful. Depending on the weather, you're also going to get a lot of vitamin D with that. Reading, nice. Bike rides, wonderful. Crocheting, wonderful. I'm sure you have a lot of wonderful byproducts of that. Scarves, blankets. Drawing, painting, yeah. Yes. Oh, yes. Access to munchies. Absolutely. That is one of the issues with working from home. Absolutely 100%. Sometimes it's a challenge when you well stock your work file cabinet though. Let's see. Self-Reiki. Nice. So these are wonderful ideas. We wanted to give you guys a quick, you know, maybe 3 minutes. I know it's not a lot of time, but we are going to share the link to our folder that has this action plan in it too, if you want to go back and take more time. So we're going to share the link. Nancy, are you able to share the link in the
chat? Yes.
The chat, yeah. So what we're going to share with you right now is a little action plan that you can look at, and we want you to just take a minute, look at the action plan. It's broken down into different areas. Again, we don't want to overwhelm anyone, so we don't want you to feel like you have to fill the whole thing out. We're just kind of looking at, just pick one thing, even if it's 5 minutes a day, or if it's something 20 minutes a week that you can do or you can commit to for self-care. Just kind of look, we have the categories in there just to kind of give you an idea. You know, you don't need one for each one, just one thing that you can commit to doing for your self-care. We're going to give you about 3 minutes to kind of think and come up with ideas of things you can commit to. Again, we don't want to overwhelm anyone, so you can start small. Would anyone like to share what their self-care plan is, their action plan? I know I'll share what mine is. Mine is bringing lunch to work. Because if I don't bring lunch to work, I don't eat lunch. So that is my self-care plan. I can commit to bringing lunch to work. Anyone else like to share? Nice, I like it. 10-minute meditation when you first get up, wonderful. Weekly Zoom time with family, that's wonderful. Download Headspace, yes, absolutely. Ah, involve the kids in the daily chores, absolutely. Good for everybody. Talk to family, wonderful. So we're going to move on now to just talk about social emotional learning real quick. So I know when we talk about, you know, social emotional wellness, we're going to talk about social emotional learning, which I like to think of in context of wellness and self-care. I like to think about it in terms of it's us teaching that to our students and to our children and to our kids is SEL, social emotional learning.
There's a lot of talk these days about SEL, social emotional learning. But what exactly is it? Social emotional learning is the process of learning social and emotional skills.
Uh-oh.
And it's just as important as learning reading or math. This learning process is most effective when it begins early and continues through high school. Social emotional skills are essential for success in school, work, and life. With SEL, students learn to manage their own emotions and behaviors, have empathy and show care and concern for others, solve problems effectively, make responsible decisions, and maintain healthy relationships. Students learn to recognize what's happening inside them and to be aware of their emotions, which helps them deal with strong emotions and impulsive behaviors. It helps them stop, take a breath, and think about a situation before acting. Students learn to identify others' emotions and perspectives, which helps them empathize and show compassion, no matter who they are or what their background is. It's not difficult to imagine how this is important in the classroom and in life. Students learn to solve problems in peaceful ways and communicate assertively about what they need or want. This helps them get along with other students and get the help they need from adults. When students learn to make responsible decisions about their lives and their future, things can turn out better. Research shows social emotional learning makes a difference. Students who participate in SEL do better academically, have improved attitudes and behaviors, and act in delinquent or disruptive ways less often. In the United States, students with strong social emotional competence are twice as likely to earn a college degree and nearly 50% more likely to graduate from high school and have a full-time job by age 25. just as important, students who are socially and emotionally competent have more friends. This means they're more likely to feel connected to school and do well, and less likely to be left out or bullied. Simply put, by participating in social emotional learning, students learn the skills to succeed in every facet of school and the rest of their lives.
There we go. So when we talked about earlier, I mentioned it briefly what social emotional learning is. And so what we like to do is we look at social emotional learning in terms of competencies. And so the collaborative for academic social and emotional learning is literally the go-to spot for anything social emotional learning. And what they've done is they've broken it down into 5 competencies. There's self-awareness, social awareness, responsible decision-making, self-management, and relationship skills. So it's going to include things like self-motivation, self-confidence, empathy, relationship building, solving problems. And so what we found is that it's important to explicitly teach these things to our students. And so when we're looking at what we're doing here in Torrance Unified in terms of social emotional learning, we've developed, our K-8 counseling team has developed our social emotional essential standards. And as you can see, I'll just read them off really quickly to you. So these are the things we want all of our students to learn how to do in terms of social emotional learning. So we have our students will develop positive attitudes and increase motivation towards self and learning by identifying their strengths and ability to overcome barriers. Our students will identify and regulate their emotions and utilize appropriate coping skills. Our students will demonstrate the ability to set personal and academic goals. Our students will demonstrate social awareness through perspective taking, relationship building, and empathy. And our students will demonstrate responsible decision making through effective communication and problem solving. And so one of the ways that we're doing this is through explicit social emotional learning curriculum and instruction. And so we are teaching second step. We went through a curriculum adoption to determine what social emotional learning curriculum we felt would best meet our needs and best help us to meet those standards for our students. And so we went with second step, which is a very well-known and well-respected curriculum. And it's being taught in our elementary schools and middle schools. Also, we have, through our partnership with Sandy Hook Promise Foundation, we also have Start with Hello, which is designed to teach our students, to kind of help socially interact, how to start a conversation, and to help prevent social isolation. Also, through Sandy Hook Promise, we provided Signs of Suicide, which is a suicide prevention curriculum for our middle school and high school students. And then, of course, all of our sites are doing wonderful things. These are more the district-wide things, but know that all of our sites are doing specific wonderful things. In addition to those, we have some that are doing peer mediation, some that are doing web, which is a wonderful middle school program, teaching kids to connect with school. So you may want to ask your school site if you have questions about what they're specifically doing, because they're doing a lot of additional wonderful things, a lot of anti-bullying things as well. So we're going to talk right here. We're going to show you this real quick video because we think it's a really good way to kind of look at the conversations that we have at home with our children, and kind of how we do kind of teach SEL at home as well.
What's the best way to connect with your kid? I would say this: look for an opportunity not to solve their problem. So as a parent, we become natural problem solvers. Your kid comes home from school and they say, listen, my best friend, they sat with someone else during lunch. I raised my hand in class for like an hour. My teacher, they didn't call on me. Immediately, we start solving their problems, whether that be encouraging them to help solve their own problem or us giving them a solution. So our kids learn very quickly that parents are anxious when it comes to negative emotions. We don't really want them to have them. We want them to go away as soon as they express them. Hey, how was your day? And they're going to say, fine. It's going to shut them down very quickly. What'd you do today? Nothing, right? So we get these answers and you're wondering to yourself, why aren't they opening up to me? So what I say is, try and look for an opportunity where your child comes to you and don't solve their problem. They're going to come to you and they're going to express something, a negative thing that happened, a challenge. And what you're going to do is bite your tongue, pause, and take a deep breath, okay? That's the first step. And then you're going to empathize with them. You're really going to think about the time in your life when someone didn't sit with you at lunch, the time in your life when you were trying to get someone's attention and they didn't give it to you. And you're going to say, you know what? I get you. I understand you, because that's what your child is looking for. They want you to get them and they want to feel that. So empathize with them. And then help them label their emotions. Kids are going through a lot of emotions. They might not understand what it is they're going through. They understand happy and sad, but they might not understand the nuance of maybe they feel jealous, maybe they feel embarrassed. And you want them to really start to understand those emotions. Why? Because it's less scary when you get it, when you understand what you're going through. So pause, empathize, label the emotion, and then you can start to solve problems. I'm Rini Jane, and you've been watching Quickies. Connect with me at yourtango.com/experts/Rini Jane.
Okay. And then we have one more video we're going to show you about another resource that we have for our students, and it's called Mind Yeti. And so it's mindfulness for students, but we think they're really great. So we're going to take a moment and do a breath activity as we wind up and wind down our time together. When it starts. Here we go.
Hello, welcome to Mind Yeti. You're about to tap into the power of something that is with you all day, every day, but you probably hardly notice. It's your breath. Before we begin, take a moment to sit comfortably with your back straight and your feet or legs resting on the floor. Feel how the floor or your chair supports you as you sit. We call this your Yeti body. Now notice your breath. If you want to, bring your hands up near your mouth and gently breathe on them. Notice the air on your hands. Breathe one more warm breath on your hands, and then bring your hands to rest gently on your lap or on top of your legs. You can close your eyes if you want to. Now, return your attention to your breath, and as you breathe, follow your breath as it moves in and out of your body. You don't need to change how you're breathing, just notice your breath. Rest with your breath and your Yeti body. Let's reflect for a moment. How does your body feel? How does your mind feel? Notice if your mind and body feel a little calmer. Anytime you feel the hubbub bubbling up, just slow down and try to notice your breath. When you are ready, take one more breath and bring your attention back to the room.
All right. So we wanted to just leave you with a nice calming activity. We hope that helped calm everybody down. And that's a good example of what some of the counselors might be using with your kids. And also some of the Mind Yeti videos are available for free online through some of the links that we have up there on that slide. So you can always check out Mind Yeti. They have their videos on YouTube, I believe. Free.
And the link is in the resources in the file folder.
Yes. So we just wanted to leave you with a few resources and let you know that obviously you're not alone. You can always reach out to anybody in the district. If you feel a closer connection with your school, you may want to start with your teacher if it's about your child, or the school counselor, a school psychologist. We also have a Building Bridges project through the district where we work with community partners to make referrals for counseling if you need extra help for your students or your family or anyone. We also have some great resources just for general wellness through South Bay Families Connected. Torrance Unified School District is a partner with South Bay Families Connected, and if you go to their website, there's a lot of resources that you can access by yourself 24/7, also good for teens and adolescents to be able to look at things, and you guys can have discussions about stress, anxiety, wellness in general, socialization like they talked about, and a lot of topics there that they can read, watch videos. There's a blog for parents and for teens, support group, and there are events that happen throughout the year. In recent times, they've been more virtual, obviously, because of our current situation, but usually in regular times before that and possibly after all of this ends, they also have a lot of in-person events that are great for families to participate in. Also, one great thing, if you ever do need assistance with any resource referrals for yourself, for your family members, for neighbors, anybody that you think may need assistance getting a referral to services for counseling, for substance use, a combination of those things. Torrance Unified also has a partnership with Care Solace, which is a website that's free, anonymous. You can go to caresolace.com/Torrance Parents. You have to start there or you won't be able to get in, but they have 24/7 care providers that can help you actually figure out what providers can take your insurance, who has space right away so you don't have to be on a waiting list. And also these providers are vetted. So you know that it's not just somebody off of Google or that you found online. They're trusted providers that don't have open litigation and don't have a lot of complaints. So it's a good resource for you. So we just wanted to leave you with those two things, and we wanted to say thank you for taking time to think about your wellness and your self-care tonight. We want you to remember to take care of yourself, and we know that this is a stressful time, so remember to take care of yourself and your family, and we hope that you have a good night and you stay safe and healthy.
Nancy, are you able to share the drive?
Oh yes, let me find it.
Because as soon as I stop sharing, and it won't do it. So this way, if you can do it, we can leave our contact info up in case anyone wanted to grab that too.
Yes.
So with this drive, what we did is it's called the Wellness Wednesdays Workshop Series Drive. And what you're going to see is right now there's a self-care folder in it. Next week, we'll be doing coping with constant change. So then that will be a new folder for resources for that. Also, then the week after that is taming stress and anxiety. So there'll be another folder for that. And then the final one is connectedness from a distance. And so we'll do a folder for each week for resources. So, you know, you may find the self-care plan is up there, but there's also some great links to articles and other websites that have more great information. And then there's some emotional wellness checklists. So it's a great resource. Check it out. There's a lot of stuff in there, and we're going to make sure that we add resources every week. So there'll be a new folder in it each week. But you'll access the same basic folder. Then next week you'll see another folder, and there'll be 4 folders by the time we're done.
So the link is there, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions right now, or? Okay.
All righty. So we'll let you go.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Have a good night.
Take care.